welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I know it has been a very long time since I posted an episode, and I appreciate you sticking in, and I do apologize for the delay in episodes. It's been the beginning of the summer has been like one of those times, and it's one of those moments where I know the awesome part is coming, but it's just getting there that is proving difficult. My girlfriend and I are getting our own apartment, and the process of going through that and the logistics of all that is absolutely overwhelming. And it's new for me because I had, for a very long time, lived my life in a way where I would have as few complications as possible. And as few things that would get in between going to work, having something to eat, and doing shows and trying to get shows. And it's and maybe other comics, maybe this is a byproduct of the lifestyle, maybe this is an attraction of the lifestyle. The comedian lifestyle doesn't lend itself to like functioning adulthood, and it's overwhelming. It is absolutely overwhelming, and I try to keep telling myself that the relief, the good part is at the end, and I'm holding on to that carrot because I have to keep myself together, lest I think everything else around me falls apart. Maybe you are that person in your social circle. It's juggling expectations and responsibilities, and it's part of it's a world that I hadn't wanted to be hadn't been a part of. I'm very much a single task kind of person, and I'm swimming, but I'm barely above water, and I'm glad that I have this show to do to keep my mind occupied. Today's guest is a really great person, really awesome comedian. My guest today is a comedian, Abby Feldman. Abby is someone I've known for a little bit. I would see her around, and then she was away for a while, and then I found out that she had been shooting a show for Netflix in Argentina, and I'm hoping I get to talk to her about that. She's got another a live streaming show on Facebook called Moist. We're going to talk about that, and she'll be here in a little bit, and we'll see where this conversation goes. In other news, if you are listening to this and you are going to be in the New York City area on July 16th, I will be doing a co-headlining stand-up show with my friend who's also appeared on the podcast, Nasser Khan. We will be at the People's Improv Theater July 16th at 8:30 p.m. Tickets are $7, and I'll have a link for them in the description. You can also go to thepitnyc.com. If you can make it out, I would really appreciate it. So thank you for coming if you're able to make it. And I appreciate you listening. If you want to support the show, you can go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating, write a review. It's appreciated. And thanks for listening. And let's go to my chat with comedian Abby Feldman. I don't like to get too invested in like New York comedy versus Los Angeles comedy, but I feel like Los Angeles comedy, I never hear anybody talking about the struggle of recording in absolutely overbearing, sweltering heat. At least not the podcasts I'm listening to.
Wait, in LA? But LA's not as hot as here.
Yeah, it is, and it's not
It
as
does.
humid.
It never gets like this there.
And it never gets as humid, right?
Well, I've never been there in the dead of summer.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's just so much more the same all year round.
Yeah, it's like more consistent because, but like New York City in like August is like the worst place to be.
Well, because even if it's 100 degrees in LA, it's dry.
Exactly. That's how I feel about
and breezy.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about when I was in Austin for a week. It's Texas in June, so it was hot, but I was kind of handling it better than I would like humid Maryland summer or humid New York summer. But I did like last year I did an episode with David Piccolomini, and it was like I did his show and then he did my show.
Yeah.
And we just had like, it was like 95 degrees. You could put those on.
Should I put these on? Yeah.
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this head thing off.
I go for like, is that that's kind of like a Rosie the Riveter kind of style.
It's so funny. I just had a Rosie the Riveter audition today.
Really?
Yes, and I didn't even wear that. I wore like a different head thing, but I wore this this thing.
Oh yeah.
But that's like.
Well, that's her shirt. That's definitely her shirt. But then she has like a full on handkerchief.
I had a handkerchief tied around my head, but that's just crazy that you said that because like no one has said that to me ever, and then you said that to me today, and I went on an audition for a Rosie the Riveter thing. It's crazy.
That is serendipitous.
It's serendipitous.
It took me because I knew that painting for the longest time and didn't know what it was called until like maybe like 5 years ago.
I think so too. Yeah, I think I didn't know it was Rosie the Riveter. I mean, maybe I did, but I didn't.
Yeah, I just knew that as the
you can do it, or
empowering you can do it.
Yeah,
lady.
yeah.
I was like, yes, I can. Thank you.
Yeah. Which Obama totally stole. So.
he co-opted it. For some purpose. Have you seen that? It's on Netflix right now. There was like a behind the scenes of Obama's presidential campaign in 2008. Have you seen that?
No.
It's fascinating.
Okay.
I like the behind the scenes of politics. Like just I guess the strategy and the way everything's like planned out because you never get to see that. So,
behind the scenes.
Yeah, I find
it's like the real. It's like the real house husband of America.
Basically, he seems like he's pretty much similar to his public persona. Is very similar to how he usually is.
That's what it made it look like.
That's what I grabbed from it. I was like, oh, okay, he's that's kind of how he is most of the time.
Yeah, I'm sure that's mostly how he is. I'm sure he like has dark sides and like whatever.
I imagine so as well, but because and the reason I bring that up is because I find myself often thinking that I should try to be the way I am all the time. Because have you ever seen someone like online or something like that, and then you talk to them in person, like it's almost like they're completely two different people.
Yeah, I've noticed that about myself also, and I feel like I definitely want to be, you want to be yourself all the time, and you want to be aligned, and I feel like especially with comedy, like I notice now after all the years of doing stand-up, when I look at my old tapes and I look at my newer things, I feel like I'm getting much closer to my true self.
Yeah.
The way I'm performing is less of a persona. Like the beginning, there was very persona-y, even though it's still me. It was like this exaggerated kind of thing, and now it feels like I'm having more of a conversation that that like you could just peel me off the stage and put me, in the hallway talking to one person, and it would sound similar.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good. It's good that you feel it, because I feel like it adds to that. I think comes from just over time a familiarity and a comfort, like with the stage, having people look at you. Because I remember even though I had like been doing theater, like when I first started doing stand-up, I used sort of like I was overly monotone and I spoke very deliberately as almost like a overextension of how weird I can be.
Kind of like a Tig Notaro-y.
Kind of.
Super slow.
Yeah, as like a way of almost like protecting myself as like, oh well, they just don't get my bits. You know.
I think when you first start out, you're also getting such little stage time that a persona
Yeah.
is palatable for 5 minutes. So it's like if you're being really monotone for 5 minutes, people might be willing to listen to that. Or if you're being like, I am super crazy for 5 minutes, that's one thing. But like you can't headline and be doing that. I mean you can, but it's exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like an hour of this pace.
This is already killing me.
That's really exhausting.
Yeah.
Somebody I've grown to enjoy more as I've gotten older, shed a lot of the like nonsensical like this sucks and this is sellout and this is truth or whatever. Somebody I've been enjoying a lot over the past couple of years is Gabriel Iglesias, mostly because, and I don't like he's mostly because I just like him. Like I like the way he tells a story, and he seems like he's got an interesting life, and he travels all over the world. What I grew more and more aware of is that there's a technique to set up punchline jokes for like late night, and that's a skill I think that's good to have in the tool belt. But when it comes to like being a headliner and the ability to do like an hour or an hour and a half and have people come out to see you regularly, is that they kind of have to like you. Yeah. The jokes have to be good, and if you're doing long form, it's got to be funny consistently, but they got to like you.
Totally. And when I see my sets from headlining, not that I do it all the time, but when I headline, I look at the tapes and I'm like, this is, like, because I'll get off the stage and feel like I killed, maybe.
Right.
Maybe if I feel that way, I'm like, oh, this is going to be an awesome tape. I'm going to look at it. And it's like, it's good, but there's a lot of like interacting. There's a lot of crowd work. There's a lot of talking with the crowd, which is so great live, but so crappy visually. Like no one watching from home wants to see how fun. I mean, interacting with the crowd is so specific, or like doing local stuff when you're out of the city and you're just like doing local, references and things like that. Like it's so funny to the people there, but it doesn't mean anything to anyone anywhere else really. And I don't know, I feel like you just kind of, it's so much more about the energy of like, we connected, we clicked, I won you over. It's like a date, because you have a whole hour to be with them, as opposed to like 5 minutes. You got to blow them out of their seats and be amazing and leave an impact and also sort of connect, but like for a late night set, not that.
Yeah, like I almost think like a late night set is say imagine like you're Taylor Swift. and the late night, the super tight 5-minute set, that's like the pop single that's like going to get to the hook in 20 seconds and is mathematically designed to get into your head.
I love where you're going with this.
That's what the tight 5 is.
Yeah.
And again, it's a skill set. It's important to have, but the headlining show, that's the full concert where maybe you do like a little like you have
crowd
like
favorites.
You do some crowd favorites. You got a custom intro song. Maybe you do some like kind of crazy interlude where like I'm gonna play this song and then I'm gonna segue into a Beatles medley or what have you. Like all that kind of fun stuff that isn't necessarily attractive to late night bookers, but is fun as shit.
Totally. Well, someone made a comparison like that similar recently, and I don't even know if we were talking about comedy, but we were talking about how pop singers have to make that hit single on every album.
Yeah.
So that they can get the funding or the interest or whatever to be able to make the whole rest of the album, which is all the stuff they actually wanted to make.
Yeah.
And if you're a purist and you're like, I'm only going to make the stuff I want to make, then maybe you never get to make it, or you get to, but 5 people listen to it. And if you do that one pop track, that one hit, then you can do your whole other album that like the vast majority of people will be like, this is crap, I just want the single. But like a few thousand people will be like, this is amazing, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just want to make that art.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to like I'm trying to create stuff in a like with my like our storytelling show, like create some stuff that like leaves people with like a lasting impression or some kind of feelings because otherwise if you'll kind of get burned out on that. I always remember this chapter from Chuck Klosterman's book Fargo Rock City.
Mm-hmm.
He saw he saw the lead singer of Warrant. He's since passed away, but he was seeing Jamie. His first name's Jamie. I can't remember his last name. Jamie Lynn, possibly.
Clearly didn't leave a lasting impression.
So he was doing this. So Warrant's big hit was that song "Cherry Pie," and the power ballad "Heaven." So he's like 20 years removed from that at this point, and he is doing the show. And at one point, he tells the crowd, "I will play everything that you want to hear, but I want to play this new stuff that I'm really excited about first." And God, that made me really sad to hear him say that. And one fan,
It makes me sad.
yeah, one fantasy one like if I had like this dream of what perfect fan of what like a cool like a nice niche to get in, and Avril Lavigne's sort of in this too. Like she's not super popular in America, I don't think anymore, but she's still amazingly huge in Japan.
Whoa, yeah.
So she'll go and do like arenas in Japan, and that seems nice. This is mostly because I went to Japan and I want reasons to go back.
Oh yeah, go to Japan, blow up in Japan. The thing about comedy with stand-up is it does limit you. I think there's such a tie between music and comedy, the rhythm and the timing and the showmanship and the connection and everything. I think it's so similar, and there's a lot of camaraderie between musicians and comedians. But I have a bunch of friends who are musicians who travel the world with their music, and it's because people can appreciate music in any language, but with stand-up, you can't. But
It's so specific.
unless you do like silent, like Chaplin style comedy, like just real
Right.
physical.
If you're like a mime,
Yeah.
like a really like
Hilarious mime.
slapsticky, hilarious
Well,
mime.
you know, there's that guy that I think it's like it's something like the Big Buffoon or the Red Buffoon or something. That like French dude who's wearing like a red bodysuit and he's got like a fat belly and skinny limbs.
I know who you're talking about.
And he does those shows, stuff like that. But yeah, but if you want to do stand up, you just gotta stick to your own language.
Yeah.
Well, I've done it in Spanish, but
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about this. You've done stand up in Spanish.
yeah, we're recording now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
We've started.
We started like 13 minutes ago. That's how I. That's how I start.
You're like the dentist who's
Interviews.
like, any minute I'll pull the teeth, and then you're like talking, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're gone.
Yeah, it's like my best experiences with doctors. Like if I have to get a shot, I don't do needles at all. I cry, I scream. It's a terrible scene.
It's hilarious.
But I like the ones that just like keep that like, oh, so what do you do? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I do comedy. It's like, oh, who do you like? Oh, well, I really like this. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
your flu shot.
I know. They would make the best rapists. Like, I didn't even know I was raped. You are great.
Oh my god, that I better not say anything.
Well, I think they do make the best rapists. 'Cause-
Dentists?
Well, dentists and doctors, they put you under and then have their way with you, and then you wake up and you're like, why is it sore there? You were removing my tonsils, and you're like, well,
Well, that could just be that's just anybody that has access to
anesthesia.
a sedative
Yep.
or anything that rhymes with Mayludes.
Yeah.
So, Abby, I'm curious. So you said you've done stand up in Spanish before. Where was that?
I've done it in Argentina and Chile and here in New York.
Oh, where in New York?
We actually did it here in Queens. It was, the name of the theater is escaping me. It was a theater in Queens, and it was a special, like, one night of comedians, Spanish-speaking comedians, doing stand-up for Spanish-speaking audience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's got to. They must be appreciative of that. I would imagine.
Yeah, they were cool. It was yeah. I mean, I've been wanting to do that. The thing about that is that when you go to a different country like Argentina or Chile, everyone is Chilean, everyone is Argentinian, everyone gets
Yes.
the references. But you know, here there's a Spanish speaking population that's from Mexico or Argentina or Chile or El Salvador or wherever, like
Oh, yeah.
from all over. So
Especially in Queens.
yeah, especially in Queens, and it's hard to have that universality because yeah, I can't make local references about those countries. So I just do my normal stand-up bits, but in Spanish.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's I like performing in front of for groups of people that are not like me. I find it an interesting challenge to try to relate to people. I did stand up in like half Turkish, half English
What?
in Istanbul.
Do you speak Turkish?
No, but my girlfriend does, and she had somebody translate like 8 minutes of my jokes. But Turkish is weird because it's
Not
It-
even our
it-
It's not even our letters.
not even our letters, and the sentence structure is completely different. So like the way to grammatically correctly phrase my act, all the punchlines end up being first.
Gross.
And then the setups are at the end.
Terrible.
So I was kind of like, and I went up at this show. I opened for a guy named Masood Shur. It was like a sold out show. It was
Yeah.
like 60. It was like a packed, and it was on International Labor's Day. So like the police have been shooting protesters all day. It was a tense. It was.
They needed to laugh.
It was a tense day for me, and I went up, and I bombed so hard for 6 minutes, and then I told a story about almost getting my ass kicked at a soccer match in Spain, and that did well. And then I told a joke about trying to learn Turkish, and that crushed, so I considered it a success.
That's totally a success.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting doing something in a different language. I find that for the most part, I've also done stand up in Israel and I'm trying to think where else, but in different places. And I think people are more appreciative than Americans are that you're doing it or trying it or whatever. And they're also more willing to listen to you do something in English. You know, that was the case in Israel. I just did it in English, and for the most part, everyone got it because most of the people there speak English or understand it. But I feel like here, if someone comes and they're foreign, and unless they're super fluent, people are like, I don't have time to decipher what you're trying to say. Or, you know, I feel like Americans aren't as welcoming as foreigners, maybe.
I definitely feel that way. I feel like there's a pace and an impatience and maybe entitlement. I'm starting to feel like this
Definitely.
more and more lately. And I wonder, I was talking about this with a friend of mine. My dad's been to South America, and I'm going to South America, Argentina and Chile for the
yeah,
first
you were
time
telling me about that. I'm
in
so
August.
excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
So
too.
excited.
I can't wait. And they from what I've heard, and I encountered this and I've got another stand up in foreign countries story for you, and then we'll talk about you.
Yeah.
Because I find you to be a unique and precious flower in the New York City comedy community.
Thanks, Will. It's very sweet.
I find that, and my dad would agree with me on this, that in other countries outside of America, I think people are just most people I've encountered are generally friendlier, and they're proud of where it's like they're proud of where they're from. They're happy that you're there to visit. They want to share their experiences and culture with you. Whereas I think like America, so many people want you to just fall in.
Yeah.
Instead of being you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you are right about the friendliness, but I do think Americans can be very friendly, but there is this sense of like, oh, cool, where are you from? Like, no one's like aware of the struggle that people are going through, or like, are you having a tough time adapting, or what can I do to help you? Or people are just kind of like, welcome, and now fit in, like, up to speed. Like, you should just be ready to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have time for your learning curve.
And there is a time thing. Like, I think the pace in the U.S., and I can only speak to the
I'll also
I can
speak to the pace.
East Coast.
Yeah, I'll also speak to the pace in New York, which is such a
Such a pace.
everybody is well, everyone who's in New York or comes to New York is here to like pursue the thing that they have to do. So it's like,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think other countries just are a little bit slower, just like let's appreciate life, let's, enjoy moments, be present, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Even like when I was in Tokyo, it's as equally as chaotic and fast paced as New York, but everyone's just like politer and nicer about it. Be like, and then there's like there and then there's like ramen, and then like you work a lot, but then you go home and then
They really, I mean, I haven't been to Japan, but from what I've heard is they just really enjoy their culture. So it's like when there's a concert, they're sitting there like eyes closed, no one's on their phone, no one's talking. It's just like we are absorbing this art right now. Thank you. And that, it's not like, I think we're always multitasking here so much that you miss moments. You're like, I saw this
Right.
awesome concert. I was taking pictures the whole time, and I was tweeting about it. I live tweeted it, and then I Facebook lived it. And like, we're just always multitasking and doing things. And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved Japan. I think I would definitely recommend it. There's I'll if you want to do shows, I'll hook you up with the guy.
Heck yeah.
I did this, and it was so funny because I think Hannibal Buress and I did a show at the same place, not at the same time, but on the same show, but the same place, because he told a story on Jimmy Kimmel about doing stand up at a British pub in Japan, and that's where I did stand up at a British pub.
Sweet.
Called the Hobgoblin. It was like locals, expats, and a lot of everybody understood English, but I did this bit about guns in America, and they just lost their minds. They thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
Because the joke is that I saw this guy with a outline of the state of Texas and a gun, and the shirt said, "We don't dial 911." And then the punchline is, "I feel bad for everyone who's ever needed a fire truck in Texas." And that just they thought that was hilarious. Also had fun with this very nice Scottish lesbian couple.
Oh, nice. You
so-
had fun, or you just had fun?
No, just comedy fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't like one of.
You weren't a third.
No, I wasn't a third. I wasn't the guy like, just like calling commentary.
Yeah. Yeah. Were they Japanese? No, Scottish.
They were Scottish, but it was everyone else was mostly Japanese, and I'd also just landed from a 14-hour flight, so I was.
That's fun. Yeah, I would love to do that.
That was a really good time.
That sounds really fun. I just really like the idea of a Scottish lesbian couple. I feel like that's an amazing those are good characters.
Whatever picture you have in your mind, that is exactly who they were.
Yeah, it is.
So, how long have you been doing stand-up, Abby?
I have been doing stand-up for 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 6 years.
Did you start in New York?
I did. I started in New York City. I was doing improv first. I did all the classes at UCB. And I had a friend doing stand-up, and I was like, oh, I'll just try this. And I did a little workshop where at the end you present 5 minutes at a comedy club. And then I was like, oh, I do this now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I met you, I think it was relatively soon after I moved here. I moved here in 2010. I started seeing you at Gotham on Mondays. When, I don't know if it's still going on.
I think it is.
The last time I was there, Yona Ward Grossman was the host.
I haven't been in years, but yeah,
Same.
I don't know who that is, but maybe.
And then I didn't see you for a couple years, and then you're back, and I was like, cool.
Aww. Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in upstate New York, Rochester, New York.
Rochester,
yes.
What was that like?
That was boring. It was super suburban upbringing. It was lovely looking back, but I remember always being just like, I want something cool and exciting to happen, and it was just so quaint and
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me ask you this: do you find yourself appreciating it in a different way now that you've been in the city
I do appreciate it, and I appreciate people that stay and have lives there, but it feels so limiting and stifling still. I think I just love like the possibility of New York, where it's like I can come here. We're going to record a podcast, and then I'm going to go down to the cellar, and then I'm going to, grab like halal food at 2 a.m, and then I might like meet up with a friend, and then, it's like so endless possibilities. It's amazing. And I miss that in Rochester.
Yeah.
Everyone's like has their routines. Everyone's got their little things. And, yeah, I need a little bit more than that. I either want the city and all the action and possibilities that presents, or like nature, where it's like beach or mountains or river.
Yeah.
The Rochester, just like middle suburban vibe, like doesn't do it for me.
Right.
But I like visiting my family there.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I where I grew up is very similar.
Where
Like,
did you grow up?
I grew up in Lusby, Maryland. Specifically,
Is that where the Scottish couple lives?
if only. No, it's on it's in southern Maryland where the Patuxent River and the Chesapeake Bay meet.
Cool.
And I usually tell people what county I'm from, because the county is more of an identity than my actual city.
Okay.
Because the city was like a population of 800.
Whoa.
Or something like that. Like super, super small. Like if I wanted to go hang out at a friend's house, it was like a 20-minute drive.
Wow.
And I didn't,
And they were like 40.
I had friends. I had 3 friends. I was not the. I was kind of a loner. I was kind of a loner, so I would just I had like my 3 friends, and then when I discovered theater, I had more friends. And thank God I did, because otherwise I'd probably be working at an ice cream shop in Maryland somewhere.
Which are that's kind of quaint to me. Like I almost like those sleepy tiny towns more than. I don't know why I have this thing against like a mid-level. Like I don't like the middle. I don't like medium. I'm like either be teeny or huge. Be like, like us.
Yeah. At this point, if I was gonna like go rural, like if I was gonna completely like just like screw it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going off the grid. I don't know if I would do it
In Lesby.
In Lesby, or even the States. Maybe like I would move to like the Japanese countryside. I think about that.
Well, I did that. I went off the grid. When I left, when you didn't see me for a while, part of it I was in DC for working on a show for a while, and then I left the show and went down to Argentina, and I was like living in the mountains by the river.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah.
I thought you were, because I knew you shot a show for Netflix.
Yeah.
In Argentina, but I didn't realize you were unplugged.
No, well, I was unplugged for a little while. For like, so basically I was living outside of Cordoba, Argentina, in like 2 hours outside of Cordoba, which is already a smaller city, and there's nothing out there. It's just mountains, rivers, people still, like there's cars obviously, but there's people that ride horses and stuff. And but we would be there, but then go back to the city, and I would perform or go into Buenos Aires and do shows and stuff. So I wasn't off the grid the whole time I was there, but it was like I was pretty unplugged for when I was there. I was unplugged.
Oh, that sounds great.
It was very great. And that's my ultimate goal, is to be able to be so, big and successful and great at comedy that I can, people want me, so they'll have me in their cities doing, big gigs or on their TV shows or whatever.
Sure.
But then I can go home or go to my, beach house in Guatemala or wherever and meditate.
Yeah, that sounds ideal. Like if you got to a point you could, like, if you were doing like a lot of voiceover, you could like just record your voiceover and email it to people.
Oh yeah.
To the people.
I did do that some when I was in Argentina.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did some voiceover stuff. Well, I used to be a journalist, so I did some like correspondent kind of, radio correspondent stuff in English and Spanish, and would send that to places here, or did some stuff like that. That's
a world that I'm very interested in, the voiceover world. And you were we're gonna I'm making mental notes of everything that we're touching on.
Well, if you wanted to, wherever you live in another country, speaking English is a huge asset, and a lot of places need an English language translator or something for wherever they are. and or you could be like a correspondent in that country for some kind of organization.
Yeah.
So, or doing voiceover. A lot of, I don't know about Japan, but in Argentina, they shot a lot of commercials. In with Argentinian crews and
Yeah.
models or actors or whatever, but they were for ads for here, but they shot them in
Oh,
Argentina
really?
because it was so much cheaper. The labor was so much cheaper, but then
yeah.
they would hire expats living in Argentina to do the voiceover for the commercial.
Huh.
So I did some of those.
Nice.
Yeah, I did some voiceover work for Playboy TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me guess what that is. Haven't watched it in a very long time, but I'm guessing super low and like Playboy After Dark. These girls are whatever you need them to be.
Kind of. Pretty much. You pretty much nailed my Playboy voice. Well, actually, it was pretty much close, like pretty similar to my regular voice. It was kind of like a reality series, like a fake reality series where it was like, I think it was called Neighborhood Rumors. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. And it was super softcore, like it wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
And basically, I just had to voice the different girls in their interactions with each other. It would be like, Vivian had never seen another woman so ready, or I don't know whatever I was saying. So,
In erotica, they always describe like the soon-to-be sexual partner as ready.
yeah, I feel like that's...
I've literally never, because like if I ever said to a woman, "You look like you're ready,"
yeah.
that would be met with immediate punch in the face.
I don't know. I mean, anything taken out of context sounds terrible, but in context, people say crazy stuff, and you're not really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I would imagine so.
I don't know. I feel like I think the whole translation team also was a little shoddy because we weren't writing the scripts, but they would be giving these kind of terrible English scripts to us, and but it was very professional. We were in a recording studio. Everyone was super professional. I remember it was like we would do the dialogue on like different days were different dialogues, and then like one day we would knock out all the moans. They had to have like a moan track to like intersplice throughout the whole scripts at different times. So they didn't have us like reading a script and being like, she took down her pants and whatever. Like, so we just would do the whole dialogues and all that stuff. And then like one day it was all just like
all moans.
Yeah, and they were so sweet, the people recording us, but they were just like, can we do like some higher pitches? Can we do some lower pitches? Can we do some like, closed mouth, open mouth?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That makes me think of when they shoot comedy specials for TV, they make the crowd do it. Okay, let's do a big laugh.
Yeah.
Let's do a medium laugh.
Yeah.
Let's do like a little laugh.
Like a pitter patter. Yeah.
Like a ha ha ha. And
Yeah.
then do oh my god, funniest thing, and then like they all do close. So
Yeah.
I just imagine just like don't forget Thursday is Moan Day.
Yeah. Are you
that's
ready for Monday?
I hope that
Monday was Monday. That was really bad.
Monday.
It was Monday.
That's funny. I hope you're talking about that on stage because that's funny.
I should do that.
Yeah.
I kept that a secret for a while because I don't think my parents, I didn't want them to know that was what I was also doing.
Sure.
That was years ago.
Yeah. So speaking of your folks, so you're growing up in Rochester. What did your folks do? What's the family sitch?
So my dad, when I was little, was a scientist, and then he like kind of transitioned out of that and became a financial planner, like started his own business, and yeah. It's kind of random that I'm going to ask him why he did that. I mean, I know he knew he was going to get like laid off from his scientist job at some point, and he kind of like had this side business of financial advising and then like went full force with that. I guess he had more like, financial and creative freedom when he owned his own business as opposed to.
Right.
And my mom is an artist.
Yeah, like a visual artist?
Like a visual artist, yeah. She did more visual art when I was younger. She did like painting, more painting and drawing and stuff like that, and ceramics. And then when I was, now she does less of that and she does more writing and more, She wrote a play.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you got independent business owner and you got a creative person. That's good. So did you have brothers or sisters?
Two sisters, both
Two
older.
sisters, both older. Oh, so you're the little one.
And they're both still in Rochester. They both have families.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everyone's there when I go visit them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like, Aunt Abby's here.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
I'm Aunt Abby, yeah.
Yeah. I never had any siblings, but I'm working on being a corruptive rock and roll influence on the children that are in like my girlfriend's family.
Yeah.
Or because my her brother just they have a kid and then they just had another one and they're like super straight laced, and I'm just thinking I'm gonna get you your first Ramones vinyl.
Oh, that's so fun.
I'm gonna, because I didn't have that guy when I was a kid. I had to be that guy for myself.
I feel like I'm doing the same thing with my niece and nephews. Like, I always try to make them know it's okay to be expressive and like play. We will always play dress up, and I always like say, like saucy things that you don't hear adults normally say, so they know that like grown-ups can still be fun. And like, I don't know, I try to be that too. But then I'm like, I do want to be a parent at some point, and so I try to watch what my sisters do and like take notes, because they're amazing and they're really good at like raising humans. So
Excellent.
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you just like you gotta like collect like a blend of knowledge and influences, and then that's how you create like a worldview.
Yeah, and I think when you're an aunt or an uncle, you get to be, not the parent. You get to be the fun, like grown-up kid who does zany things and lives in New York City and records podcasts on Thursdays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what kind of kid were you growing up? Like, what kind of girl were you in high school?
Oh, in high school, I was, I don't know. I think I was always like, I've always been kind of an old soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I always liked older people, like being around older people. I think like even as a little kid, I always liked to, like joke around and make older people laugh, or like be that kind of the clown in that sense, but and kind of like an intellectual clown, like a smart clown that likes to, like be part of good discussions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I was kind of just trying to figure out. I think I needed to quench that feeling of being in a small town, like needing something exciting. So I like partied a lot.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, looking back, I was always like a really good kid and smart and interested in stuff, but like I did like to go out and party a lot, because I think I needed that release of like, let's go dancing and like, meet cute older boys and drink booze and like, just be a rebel.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at a certain point, you've got to like not be confined by your surroundings. That routine that you see everyone else going through, and you're in to a certain extent.
Yeah, and the pattern of wake up early, go to school, get good grades, got to get into college, extracurriculars. I was like a cheerleader. I did pageants, which is crazy to me right now thinking back. But I think I also really wanted to perform. And I did like acting camp and did the school plays and stuff. But I still felt like that was still very confining. You have to go to rehearsal. You have to like remember lines. Ugh, I hated it.
Yeah, and another job. What plays were you in?
Oh, remember I was in Schoolhouse Rock. I was in Pippin. I was in...
Oh, you were in contemporary stuff.
I guess so.
In high school, I was in The Pajama Game and Singing in the Rain and Crazy for You.
Oh, those are beautiful.
I love them. I was Moose in Crazy for You because I was the only one who could play an upright bass like it was a guitar.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah, I see. So looking back now, I think I didn't know that being a stand-up comic or even an improviser was an option or a thing that anyone did. I thought the urges I had to perform were only going to be quenched by, it's my second use of quenched. Drink every time I say quenched. Everyone out there playing. So I was like, these plays are boring too. So I was always like rebelling, even in even in choir or like theater. I was always kind of like the asshole who was like making fun of the teacher or whatever.
Yeah. Adding a line that wasn't in the script, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Be like, I am stifled. I must be creative.
Yeah, I needed to be creative. It's just I didn't like the memorizing of things and the repetitive stuff. That's why I think I loved improv so much. And even in stand-up today, I don't like to say things exactly the same way. I'm constantly writing new jokes and riffing when I'm performing because it's more fun for me. I don't want to say the same stuff I just heard myself say. I sound like a crazy person repeating things all day long.
Right.
So, yeah, I was like a pretty good kid, but I did I was friends with all sorts of groups of people. Like I think I was pretty popular, but also I liked the outsiders. I liked the
Yeah.
I didn't like
The kids like me that are like hanging out in the theater department but
yeah.
after school building sets.
Yeah, no, I liked you people. I did.
That's good.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
I know. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I'm gonna get like slightly dark, but then because it's to tell a point. But I got
No,
like
it's all good. That's what I do here.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I was a drinker, and I had friends that were like kind of like the bad kids. Like I was a good kid, but that had this side. But like I hung out with like some older kids that maybe were whatever. So we would like go into clubs and drink, and we were like young and
Sure.
not allowed to. And a friend and I got in kind of a bad car accident, pretty bad. And luckily, we're both still here, so it's good.
That's good.
Happy ending. But I was really shooken up by it, and I started like being more active in SAD, like Students Against Drunk Driving, and
Is that what it was? What happened exactly?
yeah, it was drunk driving.
Okay.
Yeah, my friend was driving drunk, and I was a passenger. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But so then I got really into that, and I also I kind of knew that I wanted to do something in front of a camera and blah blah blah. So I started the broadcast journalism club at my school, and so I got like all the nerdy AV kids to be like my
Your
like
crew.
my crew. Yeah, because they had all this equipment and no one was using it. So I got like the AV guy was like, we were besties.
Yeah.
Like the teacher, and he was into it. Everyone was just happy to have something else to do. So I wrote these little packages, and I would be like, construction going on in the west wing of this, this high school will be going on until June or whatever. Like just stupid stuff. But I also did a story about like anti-drunk driving and whatever about prom and parking and whatever.
Yeah.
Stupid stuff, but it was a fun outlet for me, and I sobered up after that accident, so I was like really into that. Just like being creative and productive and being, proactive about producing my own content. And then that kind of, I've been doing that kind of ever since.
Yeah, that's good that you got that early, because I think that for all the people that I like in comedy right now that are doing like really cool and exciting things, that's the realization I think most of them probably eventually had.
Yeah.
Is that, I should build my own thing,
Yeah.
because I don't have anyone saying, okay, bring 5 people to on Saturday at 5 p.m. and then maybe we'll give you a check spot in 3 months.
Yeah.
But there's at the bare minimum, there's power in creating, like being
So much.
starting your own financial service business.
Yeah. Hey, Daddy, what's up? Happy belated Father's Day. No, totally. I think you have to make your own opportunities. Like, obviously, if someone writes an amazing script for something for me, I would be thrilled to perform it. But it's so awful to, like, most scripts are terrible. There are very few good scripts. Even high up stuff is hard to read. So, sometimes you have to do it because it pays bills, or sometimes you want to do it because it's a great connection or whatever. But you ultimately want to probably say your own stuff and express your own voice and truth, and that's what I really like to do.
Yeah, same here.
Samesies.
Yeah, because and I've found this a lot as well. Like the parts for, like, I'm 30 now, but like in my 20s, like the kind of parts that I was going out for,
Yeah.
I wanted the screen time, or I wanted the experience, but it wasn't anything I was super excited about. With a couple of rare exceptions, the short film that I was in that went to Cannes, that was really fun to be a part of.
Congratulations, yes.
That was a good time. I apologize if that comes off as super braggy.
No. You got to drop that stuff. I wouldn't
But
have
that was
known.
like, that was a fun script, and then I did a couple of other things with the same director. Those were all
That's
fun.
amazing. Yeah. When you find a good group, it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, again, building your
empire.
your AV club.
You got to bring that. Yes, totally. Well, I also don't understand when writers write without having specific people in mind. Like when I write series scripts, I almost always, at least for the major characters, have people in mind that I want, that I'm casting or that I'm writing
Right.
for. So when they hold these broad castings, they're just like come one, come all, or more or less in this kind of configuration. I'm like, that's crazy to me. I feel like if you do find someone that you like and book them, then you have to kind of rewrite it to fit them, unless it's a perfect fit. But
Yeah, I think so.
oh, I have to put in a caveat. I did just see that they're casting for Evita, and I want to play Evita so badly.
Yeah.
So holler at me if you're watching this, Broadway casters.
Yes. I will also put out a note, since we're on the subject. I have one dream in musical theater, and that's to be in Rent, if someone can help me make that happen.
I love that we're like just speaking into the ether.
I haven't done one of those Facebook statuses saying, hey, book me yet. Feel like one's coming. But this is my equivalent of
Oh, heck yeah.
of
You
that.
got to. You've got to let them know.
Yeah. Okay, so you create the Broadcast and Journalism Club, and you graduate high school. What's the next step?
Then I go to college for broadcast journalism.
Where'd you go?
I went to Syracuse.
Uh-huh.
I went to the broadcast journalism school at Syracuse in the Newhouse School. But before I go to college, so in school, I was already like, my eyes were open to other cultures through our foreign exchange students and from a few trips that my family took to like Dominican Republic on vacation or whatever. And I was taking Spanish in school and like always really loved it. And was kind of that nerd who was like, stop talking in class. Like when people were like goofing off, I was like, pay attention in Spanish. Like that's the one I cared about.
Yeah.
I was really into it, and I was pretty good, for whatever that's worth in high school. And I told my mom I wanted to be bilingual, and she found some scholarship program and exchange program, and it was and I got it. I got the scholarship, and I had to choose. I wanted to go to Spain. My Spanish teacher had been in Spain, and that's where I wanted to go. And this program had a program in Spain, and I was going to go to Spain. And then, for whatever reason, the timing, or I was too old for that, whatever. The only options I had were Costa Rica and Argentina.
Oh yeah.
And it was too late for me to go in the middle of my senior year. It was going to be just for the summer before college. And I picked Argentina because I had seen Evita with Madonna, the movie.
Wow.
And I had always loved that movie and always sang it since I was a little kid. And it was kind of like, okay, that's where I'm going to go. I think also my mom was kind of like racist and was like, I think there's more white people there. But
don't worry. I feel like all parents have to be a little racist at some point, because when I went to college, my dad was like, "Now you're gonna learn there's some parts of the town that you don't go to."
yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, all right."
Well, I
Dad.
mean, those parts are all over Argentina. But anyways, it was still...
I've heard that. I've heard Buenos Aires is kind of dangerous.
Yeah. Well, look out, Buenos Aires. Look out. 'Cause you never know what you're going to get in me. Oh, sorry. That was hot. That was hot.
That was just some liquid fire. My main concern is make sure I don't wear the wrong soccer jersey in the wrong neighborhood.
Well, you have the benefit of being big.
Yes.
So you could probably crush most people, but you do look, American.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just, but you don't.
I
But you
am.
could also pass for Argentinian. So you should just try to look not confused, even if you're lost. Just look like you know what you're doing.
I'm pretty good at that. If
I feel
could
like you're gonna be fine.
I'm looking forward to it. I wanna eat some steak.
Yes.
I wanna try to find go to Tango or something
I'm
like
gonna
that.
recommend so many things.
I'm gonna try to do so many of those things.
Dude,
I'm
do you know where you're staying yet?
we're staying near. I could probably find it. We're staying. All I know is that the soccer team River Plate Stadium is very close to where we're staying.
Interesting. You might maybe you're okay. So you're not right in the city. You're kind of outside the city.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's nice because you'll get like a more. My preference when I'm traveling is to get more of like a local, off the beaten track flavor of a place because in Buenos Aires, like in any big city, there's going to be, McDonald's and like cosmopolitan things. And what the reason why I think I became so fluent in Spanish and really assimilated to Argentinian culture so much was that when I did the exchange, I was sent to Cordoba, not to Buenos Aires.
Right.
And I had a family, they sent me with a family and they spoke a little bit of English, but very minimal. So I really got
So you really had to use your
immersed.
Spanish.
Yeah. And I was also super, type A at the time and was like, I'm gonna be fluent by the time I leave. So
Uh-huh.
I was all about it. But yeah, I think going to a smaller town, I'm gonna recommend so many places, but
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So you're in Argentina. So you're coming immersed in that. How much time passes between this and when you get to New York?
okay, so I go to Argentina that summer before college.
Okay.
I fall in love with that experience. I'm 18, recently turned 18. I'm able to drink
Yeah.
legally. I'm able to, go out. I have all this independence, all this newfound independence. It was like, like the experience of camp, but like to the nth degree.
Right.
I was like a camp goer, by the way.
Okay.
And also got into some trouble in camp.
Oh,
But it was all
have
good.
to. That's what
You
camp
have
is
to.
for.
You gotta sneak out. You gotta skinny dip. You gotta smoke some weeds.
Yeah.
But then Argentina was all that, but it was also like getting to experience how different family works and figuring out who I am and how do I present in another language and kind of let me invent myself for the first time outside of the protection of my family or leave that role of the role I played in my family and just play how I wanted to. And that was so fun. And I also kind of I definitely fell real hard in love with a boy.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really amazing and exciting, but also super hard for me to leave. And then I left and went and started school at Syracuse, and it was like this dreary gray town in upstate New York. So basic. Like that term didn't exist at the time, but it sums it up so much. It was like such a basic college experience of like, let's get wasted and like just tons of white people, white broy people.
Doing boring white broy things.
Such boring white broy things, but I still craved like that excitement and love and attention that I had wanted growing up and that I kind of got when I was in Argentina, so I missed it so much.
Right.
And when I was at Syracuse, I did just kind of like drink a whole lot and like did whatever to kind of just pass the time. And then in my breaks, on winter and summer breaks, I would find excuses to go back to Argentina. So I got like a scholarship to do an internship at a newspaper in Argentina, and then I went abroad to Spain and got another internship there. Like
Where in Spain?
Madrid.
Oh, nice. I haven't been to Madrid yet. Been
It's
to Barcelona, but not Madrid.
it's great, but I would recommend Argentina way more. So you're doing better. Go to
Cool.
Argentina.
Good.
But yeah, I needed that like that foreignness and that culture just like really fed me, and also that relationship was exciting. So I would go back there on all my breaks, and then when I graduate college,
And you're like super type A, because I the only reason I honed in on that is because my girlfriend is super type A, so I'm familiar with the like super like high functioning organization and drivenness. What did that? What do you mean when you say you were super type A?
Yeah, I was super driven. Like whenever there's a goal, I'm super driven. I would definitely not say I'm the most organized person, and I think it's more like organized chaos. Like I know where I'm going and I get there, but like there's no real formula.
Uh-huh.
I'm not like an organizer or someone who needs to like know the plans and the times.
Yeah.
But I'm just like when I want something to happen, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when I'm in love, I'm like
Right.
so focused. But now I'm like being more like that with myself because it's like the first time I've been single in my life. So,
Oh.
but, but yeah, so I just really wanted to get there. So after college, as I'm finishing college, I wanted to get out of Syracuse as fast as I could.
Mm-hmm.
I go in with a bunch of like AP credits. I'm trying to graduate early.
Yeah.
So I was planning on graduating in 3 years. Then there was like some mix up and I had to get one more class. So I had like my last semester I was just taking like 2 classes.
Uh-huh.
And I was also applying for a Fulbright scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot of work too. So
Yeah.
that's like what I was doing full time. I applied to get this Fulbright scholarship to go down to Argentina to do a documentary.
Yeah.
But I really just wanted to go back to Argentina. I didn't
Right,
care
right.
about it. I just wanted to do that.
Mhm.
I mean, I wanted to make a thing. I always wanted to like have a productive thing as part of it, so it didn't feel
Yeah.
like I was just being a crazy like free spirit. Like I wanted
Sure.
to feel like I had something to show for it. So I get that, but that wasn't going to start until the following spring. So I graduate in December of 2008. I was class of 2009, and I come to New York and I start acting.
What year was that?
That's 2008.
2008. And did you have any acting training by this point?
No, not more than just high school.
Sure. So you get to New York, and are you doing like theater? Are you going out for like commercials or indie films?
I have no idea what I'm doing. I sign up. So this is now 2009. It's like winter of 2009.
Yeah.
And I sign up for Lee Strasberg Institute.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's like the Stanislavski method
Mhm.
passed through Lee Strasberg, and it's straight acting. It's like theater, acting, sense memory, like all these like crazy.
Yeah,
and
it's like hardcore method.
I love it. I love it. I fall in love with this.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm expressing. You're like making long, loud sounds. I'm like, I'm so good at making sounds.
Yeah. Well, it plays in later in your career with moaning. With
Yes.
Moaning Mondays.
Yes, it does. Moisty, moaning. So it was so fun to be moaning and making noises and like moving my body. It was method, but there was a lot of improv.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was part of it.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a lot of dramatic stuff, but I was like, oh, I'm so good at crying on cue. And like, I'm so good at like, it was very
Yeah.
good for my ego to know that I could even do it.
Right. Right.
And I was going out for roles that were so terrible in retrospect, like the worst. And one of them is even on IMDb, which I'm like, I do not know how to get rid of it. It's so embarrassing. It's like a dramatic, angry girlfriend role. It's so bad. It's hilarious. But anyways, then I go and do the scholarship, go down and do this documentary, and
What was the documentary about?
that was awesome. It was about the relativity of craziness.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So when I was in Spain, I was interning at the U.S. Embassy.
Uh-huh.
I was working in the press department, and then
Yeah.
there I was doing like weird stuff too. I was like, they had like an AV equipment thing, and I was like, can I borrow this stuff? And like they let me go around to concerts and like do packages at the concerts and be like, hey guys, I'm here at the live whatever concert talking to Panic at the Disco. I was like interviewing bands and stuff for the U.S. Embassy.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It was so awesome and random, and people were just awesome to me at there. And anyways, there we like did this brunch for the Spanish Fulbright students that had like gone to the U.S. and other parts of the world. And I had never heard of this, and I was like, that sounds dope. I'm gonna apply for that. And someone was like, and I wanted to go to Argentina again because I was still obsessed. And someone told me about this psychiatric hospital that had some like cool artistic stuff going on in Argentina, and I didn't know at the time that I was a comedian, but I was like very attracted to mental illness, and that thought of like something alternative to help that, and went down there and worked with patients at this hospital and just interviewed them, talked to them, and saw them doing art and like radio and music and all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And focuses on one patient in particular who was a writer, Alexis, and he was a writer and a poet and also schizophrenic, and would like escape the hospital at night and go out and party and then come back.
Uh-huh.
And so the film is called The Border, and it was like, you know, like which
Yeah.
side of the wall do you want to be on, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, which side are the crazy people on also?
Yeah, because maybe the people on the outside are the real crazy ones.
Which is, well, it's totally a yes. Well, I do feel that way about mental illness. I feel like people who are mentally ill are often the sane people reacting to a sick reality that they live in.
No, I agree. I agree completely. Like, I also recently I was in Barnes and Noble, and there was this book. Like, this author used the phrase, like, highly sensitive person,
Mm-hmm.
and like the idea of people that are like so paying attention to the world, and it's just like all like zoning in on like your heart. That's yeah. Do you have any of that?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like do you ever feel as if the world and everything around in it is making a concentrated effort to crush you?
I don't feel that way. I don't feel like there's a thing being done to me. I just think that there is a way that things are, and I think that we have to find a balance where it's like there's a reality that we've all agreed upon.
Right.
And it's like a delusion. Is that a word? Delusion?
Illusion, maybe.
But like delusional.
Yeah, exactly. It's
It's like it's something that it's something we're all projecting, and we've all just agreed that this is real and concrete and normal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand that there's a value in that, because there would be a lot of chaos if we don't just agree upon that.
Right.
And I do sometimes feel like, oh, I could just go off this, like, I could just be in a different plane. And sometimes I do go there, like with meditation or with just my own, like allowing my brain to go that way. That's why I don't use any drugs whatsoever.
Right.
And I do notice that people who are of this similar mental framework don't do well with stimulants or of any sorts. And I think our drug of choice tends to be alcohol, because that kind of brings you back down. It's like, come down, don't see more, see less. Like it kind of dampens that hypersensitivity.
Yeah.
And now I don't drink anymore, but I understand that's definitely my drug of choice for that reason. And when people are like, oh, you should smoke weed, or you should like try psychedelics or stuff like that, or even like ayahuasca, which I think, or mushrooms, which I think are drugs that work really well for a lot of people who are very stuck in the framework.
Mm-hmm.
For people where I could like leave the framework at any moment, it's like I don't want to leave it because I don't know the way back necessarily, but leaving the framework via meditation or something more where I have control and how much I allow myself to play around with that line is much better, because you never go farther than you can.
Right. Whereas you feel like if you were with drugs, you could maybe go so far out that you don't come back.
Right. Or you don't know how far it's going to take you. And I'm already predisposed to go pretty far. Like just talking, I can start, I can let myself get into a certain state, which is a beautiful state to go to, but I don't go farther than I'm able to in this, being sober. But I've had experiences with just weed before where I've gone so far, I'm like, this is, I wasn't able to handle that.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Like, it took me moving to New York to even drink. Like, I didn't do anything all through high school, all through college.
I'm jealous of that.
I was just always, and I think my drug of choice in college was work, because I was like working 40 hours a week at Target, doing stand-up my senior year, doing 2 plays, writing my thesis, and taking like a full, like 30 credit hours. So I was like I had like 1 day a week when I wasn't doing anything, and it took me a while to like get like always like very like my I my thing was to retreat. Like I was like some people, like everyone I knew was like always afraid of like time by themselves. Like I've always known people who have like siblings or like are very like they're energized by being around people. Whereas like if I'm around people for a long time or like telling somebody for the thousandth time that I don't know when the Nintendo Wii is going to be back in, um, I need to retreat. I need to be around no one. Maybe I watch TV. I think I got really into animation for that reason, because animation has like the familiar, like the some animation has like the shades of real, but it's not, because it's a cartoon clearly.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time, like I'm very over caffeinated. Like I drink coffee just like all day. The most relaxed 2 times I've ever been relaxed, and it's interesting you bring that up, were when I got super stoned. When I got really stoned at I probably shouldn't say his name, but I'll tell you after. At this guy's apartment after an apartment mic, and when I did mushrooms for the first time.
So you're different. Yeah.
And all my buddies in Baltimore knew me when I didn't do anything, and then one of them came to visit, and he was like, "Hey, you want to do mushrooms?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they were excited. They're like, "All right, Will's gonna do mushrooms."
Yeah.
And we're tripping on, so we're on mushrooms. We went and saw the Avengers in 3D. I couldn't pronounce Sidney Pollack's last name, and that made me laugh for like 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
Like it was the funniest thing I'd ever experienced. And the other story was when I got the first time I got like super high, because I usually like take a hit and then I just get sleepy. That's usually my rate. But I was smoking out of. I'm gonna get it wrong. It's not some kind of water bong where it's basically not smoke, like it cools down the smoke, so it's just
like a bubbler.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I took about 6 really deep rips of this thing, and I was in the middle of a conversation when suddenly my vision started turning like a kaleidoscope, and I was on the train listening to like jammy space rock, and I swear to God, I thought every song was like it took like 15 minutes to get to the next part of the song, and then daylight savings time hit on the train, so I went back in time looking at a clock, and then when I got back to my apartment, it was the most devoid of stress I had ever been.
It's awesome.
And I sometimes like I would love to get back to that, but
well, if you don't have a problem with it, I mean, I think I think it's different strokes for different folks, but like
that's essentially that.
But that sounds awesome. What you're describing sounds so fun and good, and
Yeah.
like, but also I think for me there's also like ego even within my like enlightenment things, where I'm like, I want to get there on my own, of my own avail. Like I want to get to those experiences just from feeling them and meditating on them and letting my brain go there, or my soul go there, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've had really cool experiences with different yoga experiences or different meditation experiences, or even like chanting and things like that have been so awesome. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool to get there and be totally with it, to feel it, as opposed to being under the influence of something. But
yeah, or just to feel like you're going through the motions.
yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In any time you've done like did you ever do that acting exercise where everyone just kind of like closes their eyes, sits in a circle, and they like give you this one particular exercise, we were given like an action and like a song to listen to but not hear, and you're just supposed to hear it. And the idea is that, you know, you're getting like really into like almost getting like really into yourself and in your own mind.
Yeah, like
but it's not performative.
Yeah.
It's just being. You're like actually being, as opposed to
They call that
acting, as they say.
at Strasbourg they would call that a private moment.
Yes, that's we did that.
But it wasn't necessarily that you had like, it could have been anything. Like, it could be that you're listening to a song. It could be that you are sweeping the floor, or you are like, you had to pick it. It was something for yourself, because it had to be something that would make sense for you. So it's like, oh, for me, I think I was like writing in my diary or something. So I was writing on my diary on stage, and it's like, the goal is to have, at least at some moments, forget that there's an audience and be truly authentically in your private moment, so that if, like, that's how you're starting a scene, for example, you could be writing in a diary, and then the other actor walks on and could startle you, or could make you feel, oh, like, I have to cover something up, I'm vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
I remember there was always like one kid a year who was like, oh, my private moment's masturbating, and they would like try to get the teacher to let them. And then I think apparently back in the day, you used to be able to do that, or be naked at least, or something, and then they stopped letting people do that.
Yeah. It was when my college did hair the year before I got there, so there was a lot of nakedness.
Yeah. Did you go to college in 1975?
That was when they set that version of hair was like really, like, they were just going all out.
Yeah.
And that I had worked with that particular director on a few other things, and it was like, that's very much up her lane.
Yeah.
So you got all this. I feel like we like went to another plane there.
Yeah. It was fun.
That was good.
Yeah.
So you're in New York, doing acting, doing UCB. I want to talk a little bit about this. This might be a good way to start bringing it in, because when I first like started like hearing your name a lot, I think we were both doing a web series at around the same time.
Okay.
I was actually in this room. Me and Kevin Frolix were doing the worst landlord. And what was your web series called?
Love Abby.
That's it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. Love Abby. Good times. I miss Love Abby. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Because that won like a lot of awards and stuff, didn't it?
Yeah. Love Abby was a very bizarre situation. I was cast to do a web series. So basically, there was a production company that had some reality TV shows they were producing, like a cooking show, some random like indie film stuff, and they wanted to have. This was 2013. It was a lot of. It was when all these YouTubers were blowing up.
Yeah.
And they wanted like a YouTuber on their roster, but they didn't understand that like the beauty and magic of like a YouTuber thing blowing up is that it's like 100% this kid doing it.
Yeah. It's not calculated.
It's not calculated. Yeah. So there's some calculations to it, but basically it's like a raw thing that happens. So they're casting for this thing. They don't really know what it is. They're just kind of like casting on personality and like ability to like ad-lib and whatever. And based on my audition, we come up with this concept that's like a comedic advice web series where like people asked me questions and I gave them advice, but it was all very like tongue in cheek and
right.
So yeah, it was so fun, and I was doing this thing, and we went from one day a week to 2 days a week, and I was pretty much, at first they were producing it a lot, and then I was pretty much doing it all on my own because I wanted more creative control. If it was under the guise of like, this is Abby's thing, and everyone thought I was doing it on my own anyways, I was like, I would rather say exactly what I want to say as opposed to whatever.
Right.